I made one tiny grammar mistake at the doctor, and it cost me $500. I meant to say my stomach hurt yesterday. Instead, I said my stomach hurts now. The doctor thought it was an emergency. Before I could explain, I was rushed into an examination room. Tests were ordered, blood was taken. 2 hours later, I got the bill. $500, all because of one word. Here are the exact phrases you need to describe your symptoms without triggering an emergency response. It was a cold Tuesday morning in January when I woke up with a dull ache in my stomach. Nothing terrible, just uncomfortable. I had felt it the day before too, right after lunch. I remember I had eaten a sandwich from a food truck near my workplace. The sandwich was fine, nothing unusual about it. Grilled chicken, lettuce, tomatoes, some kind of sauce. I ate it quickly because I only had 30 minutes for lunch. By the time I got back to my desk, I noticed a slight discomfort in my lower abdomen. It was not painful, just noticeable, like a small pressure. By evening, after I got home and had dinner, the feeling had gone away completely. I did not think much of it. Maybe I ate too fast. Maybe the sandwich was a little heavy. No big deal. But when I woke up that Tuesday morning, the same feeling was there again. Not sharp, not intense, just a persistent discomfort that lingered as I got ready for work. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, brushing my teeth, wondering if I should ignore it or do something about it. I pressed on my stomach gently. It did not hurt when I touched it. There was no swelling, no redness, nothing visible. But the discomfort was there, sounded like a quiet reminder that something was not quite right. I decided I should probably get it checked out. Better safe than sorry, right? I had health insurance through my job, and I had been in the United States for about 8 months at that point. Long enough to feel somewhat comfortable with the system, but not long enough to really understand how everything worked. I had never been to a doctor in America before. Back home, going to the doctor was simple. You walked into a clinic, you explained your problem in your native language, the doctor examined you, gave you advice or a prescription, and you left. Easy, straightforward, no confusion. But here, everything felt more complicated. The insurance, the co-pays, the network providers, the referrals. I had heard stories from other people in my situation. People who went to the doctor for something minor and ended up with bills they could not afford. People who misunderstood what the receptionist said and missed appointments. People who tried to explain their symptoms but could not find the right words and ended up frustrated and embarrassed. My English was okay. I could have conversations. I could order food at restaurants. I could ask for directions. I could talk to my coworkers about weekend plans or the weather. I was at what they call an intermediate level, somewhere between A2 and B1. I could understand most things people said to me, as long as they spoke clearly and did not use too much slang or idioms. But medical vocabulary? That was a completely different world. I had never studied it. I had never needed it before. Back home, I knew all the words. I knew how to say appendix, the kidney, liver, intestine, bladder. I knew how to describe different types of pain: sharp, stabbing, throbbing, burning, tingling. I knew how to explain when something started, how long it lasted, whether it got better or worse with movement or rest. I knew all of this in my native language. But in English, I only knew the basics: head, stomach, arm, leg, chest, back. That was about it. And even those words I was not always confident pronouncing correctly. I remember sitting at my kitchen table that morning, drinking coffee, and thinking about how I would explain my problem to the doctor. I tried practicing in my head. My stomach hurts. No, wait, my stomach hurt? Or is it my stomach is hurting? I was not sure. English tenses confused me sometimes, especially when I was nervous. And I knew I would be nervous at the doctor's office. I called the clinic near my apartment around 9 in the morning. My hands were a little shaky as I dialed the number. I hate making phone calls in English. You cannot see the other person's face. You cannot read their body language. You just have to rely on your ears and your voice. The phone rang 3 times before someone picked up. Good morning, Riverside Family Clinic. This is Jessica speaking. How can I help you today? Her voice was friendly but fast. I took a breath and spoke slowly, trying to sound calm and clear. "Hello. I would like to make an appointment with a doctor, please." "Okay, sure. Is this for a new patient or an existing patient?" I hesitated. I was not sure what existing meant in this context. Did it mean someone who had been there before? I assumed yes. New patient? All right, no problem. What is the reason for your visit today?" I paused. How should I say it? I decided to keep it simple. "I have stomach pain." "Okay, stomach pain. How long have you been experiencing this? Since yesterday?" "All right, let me check our schedule. We have an opening today at 2 in the afternoon. Does that work for you?" "Yes, that works." "Thank you." "Great. I will need your name, date of birth, phone number, and insurance information." I gave her all the information she asked for, spelling out my name carefully because people often got it wrong. She repeated everything back to me to confirm, and then she said something that I almost missed because she said it so quickly. "Please, arrive 10 minutes early to fill out some paperwork, and make sure you bring your insurance card and a photo ID. If you need to cancel or reschedule, please call us at least 24 hours in advance." "Do you have any questions?" "No, I am good. Thank you." "Perfect. We will see you at 2 o'clock. Have a great day." I hung up and let out a long breath. That was not so bad. I wrote down all the important information on a piece of paper. 2 in the afternoon. Bring insurance card. Arrive 10 minutes early. I felt pretty good about myself. See, I thought, I can handle this. It is just a simple checkup. Nothing to worry about. The rest of the morning passed slowly. I tried to focus on work, but I kept thinking about the appointment. I kept rehearsing what I would say to the doctor. My stomach hurt yesterday. It is not bad, just uncomfortable. I wanted to get it checked. Simple sentences, clear and direct. I can do this. At 1:30, I left work early and drove to the clinic. It was located in a small medical plaza, sandwiched between a pharmacy and a dental office. I parked my car and walked inside. The waiting room was quiet and clean. There were rows of chairs with navy blue cushions, a small table with magazines, and a water cooler in the corner. A television mounted on the wall was playing a daytime talk show with the volume turned low. There were a few other patients sitting in the chairs, an elderly man reading a newspaper, a woman with a young child who was coloring in a book, a teenager scrolling through his phone. I walked up to the front desk, where a woman with curly hair and glasses greeted me with a smile. "Hi there. Do you have an appointment?" "Yes, at 2 o'clock. "Great. Can I have your name, please?" I told her my name, and she typed it into the computer. "Perfect. I have you right here. This is your first visit with us, correct?" "Yes." "Okay, I will need to see your insurance card and a photo ID, please." I handed her both. She scanned them, made copies, and then handed me a clipboard with several forms attached. "Go ahead and fill these out for me. Just bring them back up when you are done, and then you can have a seat in the waiting area." I took the clipboard and sat down in one of the chairs near the window. The forms were long, really long. They asked for everything: my full name, address, phone number, email, emergency contact, primary care physician, medical history, surgical history, current medications, allergies, family medical history. There were boxes to check. Yes or no questions. Have you ever had asthma? Have you ever had diabetes? Have you ever had heart problems? I checked no, no, no. None of those applied to me. One section asked me to describe the reason for my visit. I wrote carefully, trying to make sure my spelling was correct. Stomach pain since yesterday. Not severe, just uncomfortable. Want to check if everything is okay. I finished the forms and brought them back to the front desk. The woman thanked me and told me to have a seat. A few minutes later, a nurse appeared in the doorway and called my name. I followed her down a long hallway. The walls were painted a soft beige color, and there were framed pictures of nature scenes, mountains, forests, lakes, the kind of generic artwork you see in every medical office. We passed several closed doors with nameplates: Dr. Martinez, Dr. Patel, Dr. Chen. Finally, she stopped at a room and opened the door. "Come on in and have a seat right here on the table." The examination room was small but organized. There was a cushioned table covered with white paper, a rolling stool, a sink, a counter with cabinets above and below, and a computer on a small desk. The walls had anatomical posters. One showed the digestive system. Another showed the skeletal system. I sat on the table, and the paper crinkled loudly under me. The nurse was in her 30s, with short brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore scrubs with little cartoon cats on them. She smiled warmly as she wrapped a blood pressure cuff around my arm. "Okay, just relax for me. This will only take a second." I watched as the cuff tightened and then slowly released. She wrote down the numbers on a clipboard. "Blood pressure looks good. Now let me just check your temperature." She held a small device up to my forehead. Pressed a button. See, and it beeped. "Temperature is normal too." "All right, you are all set. The doctor will be in shortly to see you." She left the room, and I was alone. I sat there on the crinkly paper looking around. There was a poster on the wall about hand washing, another one about flu shots, a third one about the importance of annual checkups. I read them all just to have something to do. My stomach still felt slightly uncomfortable, but honestly, sitting there in that quiet room, I started to wonder if I was overreacting. Maybe I should have just waited another day. Maybe it would have gone away on its own. But then I reminded myself, no, it is better to be safe, better to check now than to ignore it and have it turn into something worse. I heard footsteps outside the door and then a knock. "Come in." The nurse opened the door and stepped back inside. She was holding a clipboard and had a more serious expression now. "So I just want to confirm a few things before the doctor comes in. You mentioned on your form that you have stomach pain. Can you tell me a little more about that?" This was my moment. This was when I needed to explain clearly and accurately what was going on. I had practiced this. I knew what I wanted to say, but when I opened my mouth, something went wrong. My stomach hurts now. The words came out before I could stop them. I meant to say my stomach hurt yesterday. Past tense. Something that happened before and might still be lingering, but instead I said hurts now. Present tense. Something happening right this second. The nurse's friendly expression shifted. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and she leaned forward. "Your stomach hurts right now? Okay. Can you describe the pain for me? Is it sharp, dull, stabbing, burning?" I hesitated. I did not know all those words. Sharp, I understood. Dull, I thought I understood. But stabbing, burning, I was not sure. I decided to just say something. It is like uncomfortable. Not too bad, just, there. Okay. Is it constant or does it come and go? Constant. I knew that word meant always, all the time, but was my pain constant? Not really. It came and went, but I did not know how to say that quickly, so I just nodded. Yes, constant. Her pen moved quickly across the clipboard. Have you felt nauseous at all? Nauseous. I knew I had heard that word before. I thought it meant uncomfortable or uneasy. So I said yes. A little bit, yes. Okay. Have you vomited? Vomited? I knew that word. It meant thrown up. No, I definitely had not done that. No. Any fever? Chills? Dizziness? No. All right. And any changes in your bowel movements? Bowel movements. I was not sure what that meant exactly. I thought it might mean going to the bathroom. Had there been any changes? Not really. I shook my head. No, I do not think so. Okay. The doctor will be in to see you in just a moment. She left the room again, and I sat there feeling more anxious than before. Why was she asking so many questions? Why did she look so concerned? I started to second-guess myself. Maybe I was sicker than I thought. Maybe this was more serious than I realized. A few minutes later, there was another knock on the door, and this time, the doctor walked in. I sat there on the examination table, confused. Why did she leave so fast? And I thought this was going to be a routine checkup. Maybe they were just being very thorough. That is a good thing, right? 2 minutes later, the doctor walked in. She was a woman in her 40s, wearing a white coat and carrying a tablet. She introduced herself as Dr. Emily Carter. She did not waste any time. She immediately started asking me questions in a very serious tone. "You said your stomach hurts right now. How long has this been going on?" I hesitated. I wanted to explain that it started yesterday, not right now, but I did not know how to backtrack. So I just said, "Since yesterday." "Since yesterday?" she repeated, her eyes narrowing. "And it has been constant." I nodded again. I thought constant meant the same as ongoing or recurring. I did not realize it meant non-stop, without any break. She pressed on my stomach gently, asking if it hurt when she touched certain areas. I said no, not really. She asked if I had eaten anything unusual. I said no. She asked if I had vomited. I said no. She asked if I had a fever. I said I did not think so. Then she said something that made my heart drop. "We need to run some tests immediately. This could be appendicitis or something more serious. I am going to order blood work and possibly an ultrasound." "Wait, what?" I tried to interrupt. I wanted to say no, it is not that bad. I just wanted a checkup. But before I could get the words out, she was already typing on her tablet, ordering tests. The nurse came back in and told me to follow her to the lab. I was too shocked to argue. I thought maybe this was just how things worked in America. Maybe they always did tests, even for minor things. I followed her down another hallway into a small room with a chair and medical equipment. She tied a rubber band around my arm and told me to make a fist. Then she inserted a needle and started drawing blood. I watched the dark red liquid fill up, tube after tube. She labeled each one carefully and told me to wait in the room. I sat there for what felt like forever, staring at the walls. My mind was racing. Why were they taking so much blood? What did the doctor think was wrong with me? And why did she say appendicitis? I knew that word. Appendicitis was serious. It meant surgery. It meant staying in the hospital. But I did not have appendicitis. My stomach pain was barely even noticeable anymore. In fact, sitting there in that cold lab room, I felt completely fine. After about 20 minutes, the nurse came back and told me the doctor wanted to do an ultrasound just to be safe. I was taken to yet another room where a technician squeezed cold gel onto my stomach and pressed a device against my skin, moving it around slowly while staring at a monitor. She did not say anything. She just kept moving the device, clicking buttons, taking pictures. When it was finally over, I was sent back to the original examination room to wait for the results. I sat there alone for another 15 minutes, feeling more and more anxious. What if they actually found something wrong? What if I did have appendicitis and did not even know it? Finally, Dr. Carter came back in. She looked at her tablet, then looked at me and said the words I had been dreading. "Well, the good news is your blood work came back normal." The ultrasound did not show any signs of appendicitis or internal issues. "Everything looks fine." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Thank God, I was okay. But then she said something else. "However, I am concerned about the fact that you said the pain is still present. I want you to monitor it closely over the next few days. If it gets worse, or if you experience any new symptoms, you need to come back immediately. Do you understand?" I nodded. "Yes, I understand." She handed me a paper with instructions and told me I could leave. I walked out of the clinic in a daze, still trying to process everything that had just happened. I had gone in for a simple checkup, and somehow I had ended up with blood tests, an ultrasound, and a lecture about monitoring my symptoms. 2 weeks later, I received a letter in the mail. It was from the clinic. I opened it nervously, and inside was a bill. My hands started shaking as I read the total at the bottom of the page. $512. I stared at the number in disbelief. $500? For what? For blood tests I did not need? For an ultrasound that showed nothing? I called the clinic billing department, hoping there had been some mistake. The woman on the phone explained that because the doctor had classified my visit as urgent care based on my description of ongoing abdominal pain, the tests were necessary and therefore billable. My insurance covered part of it, but I was responsible for the rest. I hung up the phone and sat there in silence. I realized, finally, what had gone wrong. It was not the tests. It was not the doctor. It was me. It was my English. I had said my stomach hurts now instead of my stomach hurt yesterday. That one tiny grammar mistake made the doctor think I was in the middle of a medical emergency. And once that process started, there was no stopping it. If I had just used the past tense, if I had just said hurt instead of hurts, the whole thing would have been different. The doctor would have understood that it was something minor, something that had already passed. She would have given me advice, maybe suggested over-the-counter medicine, and sent me home. No blood tests, no ultrasound, no $500 bill. That day taught me something I will never forget. Medical English is not like regular English. You cannot afford to be vague. You cannot afford to mix up tenses. Every word matters. Every detail matters. Because in a medical setting, the difference between hurt and hurts is not just grammar. It is the difference between a simple checkup and a full emergency response. After that experience, I made it my mission to learn medical vocabulary properly. I bought a notebook and started writing down every medical term I encountered. I practiced describing symptoms in past tense, present tense, and future tense. I learned the difference between ache, pain, discomfort, and agony. I learned how to say it comes and goes versus it is constant. I learned how to say I feel nauseous versus I threw up. I learned the names of body parts I had never thought about before. Abdomen, pelvis, ribcage, sternum, spine. I also learned something even more important. I learned how to slow down and think before I speak, especially in high-pressure situations. When you are sitting in a doctor's office and someone is asking you questions, it is easy to panic and blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. But that is exactly when you need to be the most careful. Take a breath. Think about what you want to say. Make sure you are using the right tense, the right words, the right tone. Because here's the truth. Doctors in America are trained to take everything you say seriously. If you say something hurts right now, they will treat it as an active emergency. If you say something hurt yesterday, they will treat it as something to monitor. That distinction is everything. So let me give you the phrases that I wish I had known that day. These are the exact sentences you need to describe symptoms clearly and accurately without causing unnecessary panic. If the pain is in the past, say it like this. My stomach hurt yesterday, but it feels better now. This tells the doctor that the problem has already improved and you are just checking in to make sure everything is okay. If the pain comes and goes, say it like this. I have been feeling some discomfort on and off for the past few days. This tells the doctor that it is not constant, which is a big relief for them. On and off is a key phrase. It means sometimes yes, sometimes no. If the pain is mild, say it like this. It is not severe, just a dull ache. The word dull is important. It means not sharp, not intense. Doctors understand this word immediately. It signals that you are not in crisis mode. If you are not sure what is wrong, say it like this. I am not sure if it is serious, but I wanted to get it checked out just to be safe. This shows that you are being cautious, but you are not claiming it is an emergency. If the pain is happening right now, but it is not severe, say it like this. I feel some mild discomfort in my stomach right now, but it is manageable. The word manageable is key. It means you can handle it. You are not in distress. If you had pain before but it went away, say it like this. I had some pain earlier today, but it went away on its own. This reassures the doctor that your body is handling the problem naturally. If you are worried about something specific, name it clearly. For example, I am worried it might be food poisoning, or I am concerned it could be an allergy. This gives the doctor a direction to investigate without making them think you are diagnosing yourself. If you have a history of similar issues, mention it. For example, I have had this type of stomach pain before, and it usually goes away after a day or two. This tells the doctor that you know your body, and this is not something new or alarming. If you are experiencing other symptoms, list them calmly. For example, I also feel a little tired but no fever or vomiting. This gives the doctor a complete picture without sounding like you are in a panic. And finally, if you realize you made a mistake in your explanation, do not be afraid to correct yourself. Say something like, "Sorry, I think I said that wrong. What I meant to say is, my stomach hurt yesterday, not today." Doctors appreciate clarity. They would rather you take a moment to correct yourself than proceed with the wrong information. That $500 mistake taught me something I will never forget. Medical English is not like regular English. Every word matters. Every tense matters. One tiny grammar error can turn a simple checkup into a full emergency response. Now, whenever I go to a doctor, I take a breath before I speak. I think carefully about past versus present. I make sure my words match what I actually mean. Because in a medical setting, clarity is not just helpful, it is essential. If this story helped you understand the importance of medical English, please hit the like button. It really helps this channel grow. And if you want to learn more real-life English conversations that can save you time, money, and stress, subscribe and turn on notifications. I share new stories every week, all based on actual experiences, with practical phrases you can use right away. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had a language misunderstanding at a doctor's office? I would love to hear your story.